The road to the temple was lined with huge statues and was rapidly filling with young men who had come for an important ceremony. In this world, every child receives their gift in the temple when they turn 12. The high priestess led the ceremony with solemn dignity. To each child, she gave a life parchment as a symbol of their future. Most often, children were given combat skills because God himself first gave people the strength to fight demons. With the monsters no longer a threat, more and more children received gifts to advance civilization, and Ravel believed he would receive something truly useful. Anna thought Ravel was very smart, though he just loved learning new things, and finally it was his turn to approach the priestess. Anna beat him to it and received one of the rarest gifts, surprising those present. Though she looked gentle and fragile, she was a true warrior. A nun asked her into the back room to talk. Then Ravel's turn came. But instead of the powerful gift he expected, he received a mysterious talent called diligence that he had never heard of. The children all started laughing, and Ravel was confused, not knowing how to use such a strange gift. Carlo, one of the boys, began mocking and humiliating Ravel, calling him talentless and saying his talent was the clumsiest. Carlo himself received a master swordsman's gift and immediately decided to become a legendary warrior. Calling himself the chosen of the gods, he dreamed of becoming a true knight and boasted of being superior to Ravel. After the ceremony, Ravel and Anna returned to the village. Ravel asked what Anna had said to the priestess in that room. The girl pretended not to hear the question. Once they got home, they decided to eat something tasty. Ravel asked his mother for permission to cook in the kitchen, and she gladly agreed. Ravel quickly made sweet pancakes that looked delicious and tasted even better, and Anna loved the treat. Suddenly, the girl grew sad. Confessing to her best friend, she said she would leave soon because everything had changed after receiving the gift. Ravel realized Anna would be taken to the Academy of Heroes, the most prestigious school in all of Tyria. It's where young talents sharpen their skills. The academy trains the kingdom's true defenders, so temple guards always attend the ceremony and keep a close watch on every offering. Their main task is to prevent the escape of children with the rarest talents, like Anna's. Ravella found this oppressive, so he asked what she really wanted. Anna sighed, and with such a brave, powerful gift, she could only accept her fate. There was no choice left. She said she should be proud of such a gift instead of making up nonsense. Her anxiety turned into emotion, and she stood up abruptly and left. Ravel's father was surprised by Anna's behavior, but when he learned she had the Dragon Knight talent, it became clear she would become the king's hero. The son's gift surprised him even more, and the mother, unlike the father, called Ravel hard-working, saying he made even plain pancakes remarkable. The boy had really tried to please Anna, so the pancakes came out tender and tasty. His mother's words made him think. Mum explained that talents are a real mystery. Her baking gift seemed small until she opened a shop in the capital and succeeded. The father added that from now on, he would come home late because a battle before God is coming, where children with fighting talents will compete. Even the high priest will attend this performance. So the head chef ordered that every detail be perfect. It's time to wrap up the conversation. Ravel reacted nervously to all the stories, and his parents could not understand what was going on in his head. The real problem was a mysterious gift he did not know about, one even the priests had never heard of. He decided to prove his worth to everyone, enroll in the Academy of Heroes, and stay by Anna's side no matter what. Ravel had very little time left before the battle before God and couldn't imagine how to show himself at his best. His mother's words about the mystery of talents wouldn't leave his mind. Diligence wasn't the power to solve his problems, so he urgently needed to learn more about this strange ability. Ravel dreamed of a gift of wisdom or power beyond the ordinary, obtainable only through battles or difficult trials. The gift of wisdom gives a user access to a wide range of knowledge, but not to hidden information. Knowing everything still does not mean understanding what matters most. In the end, it was just knowledge that was easy to boast about, but hard to use, so Ravel no longer wanted that gift as much. Now the main thing is to understand how his diligence worked. Other talents developed on their own, but this one demanded real effort with no rewards. It was disappointing that his efforts earned no reward. He was curious what past holders of this talent had achieved. Ravel did not lose hope. All talents are like magic and seem easy to gain if you have the gift of wisdom, but in reality, they are much more complicated. Ravel realized he didn't have enough magic to use it effectively, but he could increase it by picturing the power inside his body and trying to release it. The moment he tried, a terrible pain struck him and seemed to tear his consciousness. Pain was so intense that even a grown man would not have lasted. It became clear that without the gift of magic, using it was almost impossible. Ravel gritted his teeth and decided to see it through and grow his magic at any cost. Draining his body again and again to restore his magic, he lost track of the hours, faced a trial at the brink of death, and finally could no longer cast spells. The effort was not wasted. Ravel gained the skill, super magical energy recovery, which inspired him since he had not expected such a result. With the new skill, magic recovery became much faster. To obtain this gift, you had to fully drain and then restore your energy 10 times in a row. Previously, Ravel had gained many skills through wisdom, but he had never experienced this. Now, he thought about how to get stronger. Muscle strengthening temporarily boosted endurance. To obtain it, you had to completely drain your magic and do physical training. Different people need different conditions to learn skills. Each person must figure out for themselves how to develop. Ravel paused and realized the heart of hard work is building strength that eventually becomes skill, and with that knowledge, he could defeat anyone. The next day, the young man devoted himself completely to training and gained 3 skills at once: muscle enhancement, magic control, and body strengthening. After resting, Ravel decided to test his new skills and achievements again, since it was his biggest success in recent days. Gaining a body enhancement required combining muscle strength with magical control. Using wisdom revealed the requirements for other powerful skills. Manipulating magic seemed universal, so Ravel began searching for similar abilities. His father noticed his odd behavior and asked what was wrong. Ravel had not expected that conversation and nearly choked on his drink. At that moment, he realized that if he mastered his skills, he could really win the high priest's attention. While his father was drying off after the shower, Ravel had already firmly decided to do everything to be near Anna again and enroll in the Academy of Heroes. Confident Carlo showed his skill with a sword, having already beaten several opponents at a special tournament. The high priest was worried about Anna's condition. She felt unwell and could not show the Dragon Knight's power. Carlo demanded new opponents. At that moment, Ravel appeared and said he wanted to show his fighting skills. Carlo was glad because he despised Ravel and began to humiliate him again. A priest reminded the assembly that fights before God are allowed only for those with combat skills. The priestess asked that the duel not be stopped. Carlo was ready to crush his rival. He had always hated Ravel, but Ravel was no longer the same and could now really fight back. Not waiting for the signal, Carlo rushed forward and unleashed a barrage of furious blows. Ravel held off the first wave, but realized winning would be difficult. Carlo was strong, and anyone else would have fallen long ago. Ravel held on, blocking powerful blows that could crush anyone. The attacks came like lightning. Ravel felt the gap in strength. Even with his body enhanced, his strikes could not match Carlo's. Carlo lost his temper and forced Ravel to answer. Even someone without talent must resist. Otherwise, it is not a fight, but a farce. The crowd grew loud, urging Carlo to deal with the loser as quickly as possible. Ravel's father decided to help his son and slowed his movements, making himself a practice target because he wanted Ravel to learn accuracy. Ravel used the imitation skill. It activates when he fully understands an opponent's movements through enhanced vision. Magic is spent while copying. After all the preparation, he managed to copy even the finest warrior's moves perfectly, and he decided to show that in battle. By copying his father's fighting style exactly, Ravel did the impossible and defeated Carlo. No one understood how he did it, but everyone was amazed. After his victory, Ravel asked to join the Academy of Heroes because he had defeated the Master Swordsman himself. The priest replied that it was impossible. The Academy is a sacred place tied to divine dignity, and only perfect, chosen candidates are allowed inside. The refusal stunned Ravel. Apologizing for his persistence, he said nothing more, turned, and left. The priest quietly said that those were the rules. He realized these rules are not always fair, because up close this boy is a real mystery, perhaps even to the gods themselves. Ravel went straight to Anna, but found she had locked herself in her room and was leaving for the academy the next day. Refusing to give up, he asked his aunt to call her. Anna was surprised and happy to learn that Ravel had defeated Carlo without a battle gift, admitting that fights scare her and she does not want to hurt anyone. The girl said her biggest dream was to stay in the village and live peacefully near Ravel, and the boy told her about two groups at the Hero Academy. Younger students have the best talents, and the senior class are exceptional people who have gone through special recognition. If Anna thinks Ravel is cool, that is already a sign of his path. Ravel vowed that in 3 years he would be strong enough to personally protect Anna and join the Academy of Heroes. If Anna cannot live in peace, she will have no free time, and Ravel wants to stay close, even if it is inconvenient. He remembered her crying often as a child, how he always came to help, and how her mood lifted each time with his perfect pancakes. Embarrassed, the girl turned red, wiped her tears, and admitted how much she liked Ravel, realizing it more clearly than ever. Ravel wanted to say something, but Anna covered his mouth and told him to wait 3 years when he joins the academy, and for now, she will also try to become better. Their friendship lasted for years. Even when everyone said Ravel was just an ordinary child, Anna saw much more in him. She had always wanted to play only with him, and Ravel had long been in love with her warm smile. Now, as everything in their lives changed, she wanted to make a promise to him. Like when they were children, they crossed their fingers and swore an oath. Ravel realized that even if she wasn't perfect, he would do anything for her smile. He will become stronger and do everything so Anna never has to fight or suffer. His hard work exists for her. Aiden, Ravel's father, taught fencing at the school but remained mysterious, arriving briefly, saying a few words, then disappearing. Teachers never took offense at his indifference because they knew Aiden held immense power. On a grey, rainy morning, Anna set off for the Academy of Heroes. The whole village came to see the talented girl off with their best wishes. Only Ravel did not come. He did not want to watch her leave because the raindrops on his face had already mixed with tears heavy as gold. He told his father he did not want to waste time on farewells. Aiden understood and concluded his son truly wanted to enter the academy. Ravel was still a boy, and his father was surprised how much he wanted to get in because of the girl. If he only thinks about her, he will get nowhere. Aiden warned that talent is not enough. Even if Ravel surprises the priest again with his tricks, he'll simply be kicked out of the academy. Ravel was surprised at how easily his father saw through his plans. He had copied the sword style to earn a chance. Aiden said true strength requires trials. He led his son into a dark room. This will not be like the fencing lessons. Ravel was surprised that his father had not even brought a bamboo sword. Aiden created a bright magical flame, a demonation. He said he would teach him the true power to make him stronger. The demon's flame was unbelievable, burning without a source. Father told us not to get distracted and to focus on meditation. This practice can grant demonic power. Ravella was impressed by her father's abilities, and he became fully absorbed in the process. Aiden explained that another world is home to demons, and people can gain the same power by improving their physical abilities. Even with the gift of wisdom, no records about the demonation could be found because that information is classified. Ravel asked why his father had remained silent. Aiden said firmly that this power is too dangerous and could destroy entire nations, so it must not be spread. Demonic flame feeds on the air's energy and the life force of those nearby. Even the strongest abilities start to fade beside it. This flame burns only halfway, but drains all hidden magic from the body, causing brutal pain and exhaustion. Many demonologists use different names for them, but in ancient myths, they are creatures from hell that torment souls for pleasure. To conquer demons, you must go through your own hell and endure. Ravel couldn't take it anymore and collapsed to the floor, writhing in pain. Aiden said it was only the beginning. The real test was still ahead. The boy felt like he was suffocating, as if submerged underwater. Even super healing did not help. Magic faded and returned with new waves of pain. Fear paralyzed Ravel. He lost track of time while enduring terrible suffering. His father asked if he truly wanted to become strong. Winning against the Academy swordsman is not the limit. If Ravel wants to protect the Dragon Knight, he must unleash his full potential. Aiden looked at his son and saw a change in his eyes. Now Ravel was ready for a new life and new knowledge. Despite his achievements, Ravel felt terrible. His father explained that it is impossible to reach perfection in a single day. It was time to step out of the room and rest for a while. Ravel refused to quit and was ready to continue the trials without rushing, though his body seemed completely exhausted. The boy tried to gather his thoughts and find the right way out. Using wisdom, he would learn how to harness demonic power. Although wisdom only helps you find the information you want, Ravella was impressed by the father's calm stance as he stood easily beside the flame. The boy was barely holding on as the force of the flames clouded his mind. Sounds grew louder, rain fell from the roof, and it became unbearable. He remembered walking with Anna in the rain, sad because they could not play with a paper airplane and only hid under a large awning. Ravel made a neat paper airplane and suggested they play at his home, but Anna unexpectedly unfolded it, leaving him stunned. She quickly folded a new paper plane, said that when things change, you need to change your approach, and suggested launching a small boat in the stream. That day, like many others, was full of joy because her best friend was nearby and they could just play without worrying about difficult things. Now Ravel was gasping. To steady his breath, he tried to use his magic the way he had when preparing for the duel before God. At that moment, he gained the circulation of magical energy skill, but he got so absorbed in mimicking that he forgot about it. He remembered it now and realized this skill lets energy flow freely through the body, improves physical abilities, and lowers magic use. Fully master the magical manipulation to activate it, and your body will work like a perfect system with your strength constantly renewed. Within minutes, Ravel fully mastered his body's processes and gained that life-saving skill. Even that wasn't enough. It was too hard to keep meditating, but he had to understand that the main goal of the training was circulation. Breathing was just a side effect. Although consciousness nearly faded, the result was worth it. Despite the pain and fatigue, the boy gathered his strength again and sat in front of the demon's flame. This time, his breathing steadied. Watching closely, the father decided to end the training and badly cut his hand. A lightning-quick sword strike dispelled the magical flames, ending the meditation. It was only the beginning of the next trial. Now Ravel had to dodge his father's attacks with all his agility, because pain, cries, and suffering are part of demonic power. Imagine being a true demon. You can only laugh and enjoy your power. Aiden did not pause for a single moment, keeping his son fighting for hours. Ravel no longer felt tired, and something inside him had changed. At dawn, when the hut was completely destroyed, Ravel finally learned the demonation skill. His father gave him a sword in thanks. He urged setting out into the wilderness to gain real combat experience, since only real battles can make you stronger. Ravel apologized to his mother for the unexpected trip, and she understood and helped pack his things, so he said goodbye and was ready to leave. He thanked his parents for their care and promised to come back. His mother was worried because he had an unusual gift, but she believed in him. The father remembered how long it had been since he went to the temple to prepare for the battle before God. Their village was small, but the temple was grand and impressive. These temples stood across the world. Talents were announced there, and every resident depended on what they received. Aiden spoke about traveling the world and meeting people who tried to be better than they were, even when they lacked the talent. At one time, he just laughed at them. But now, he had changed his mind, since even his son had gained demonic power far too quickly. There really seemed to be limitless potential in him. When his mother cried, he tried to comfort her. From now on, their son Ravel will meet many people and learn new things. He may one day become the strongest person in the world, so his parents should believe in him and hope for the best. On a deserted road far from any village, a cart sped along, and the girl panicked because a huge, fierce monster was chasing them. Death seemed inevitable, but fortunately, the brave Ravel appeared. Without hesitation, he drew his sword and charged. A lightning strike, and the monster lost its head. It was exactly the combat training her father had described. Later in the tavern, the girl heard the story and did not believe it was just a coincidence, since Ravel seemed too unusual. His strength and courage stunned her as he felled the orc with a single blow. She wanted to know more, but Ravel was in a hurry and had no interest in talking. The girl saw his clothes were all dirty and bloody, but the boy didn't care, not even about the smell. She offered him a new outfit that turned out to be the best piece in her shop. Her name was Laura, and she was a member of the Merchants Guild. She gathered the trophies and explained that orc horns are valuable and can be sold to buy good armor. Even so, Ravel can't sell them himself. Only guild members have that right. Laura promised to help as thanks for the rescue. Ravel didn't want to get involved in trade matters and said goodbye, but the girl offered to give him a ride to the town of Gostoni. The boy figured the carriage would be a good place to rest and learn a new spell using wisdom, so he agreed. The road over the mountains led them to a plain where the city of Lipsel spread out. It was much bigger and noisier than Ravel had expected. This place was a shelter for travelers and merchants, and on the road to the labyrinth city, the boy planned to pass through many more such settlements. Locals were loud and friendly, happily sharing gossip and news in the taverns over a mug of strong beer. This time, everyone talked about the boy who single-handedly defeated a giant orc and asked him to tell the details. Ravel explained that to reach such power, you must first completely drain the magical energy and that takes a lot of time and effort. People listened closely as he spoke about exercise, building muscle, and doing hundreds of push-ups every day. It is hard at first, but soon becomes a habit. Ravel then brushed it off as a joke, saying his real training had been at his father's martial arts school, and people still listened with rapt attention. Suddenly, the tavern doors opened, and a strange man rushed into the hall, immediately interested in the one who had defeated the orc. Everyone immediately pointed at Ravel. A bald man rushed over and begged for help. Bloodthirsty bandits had taken up residence in nearby caves, robbing the town and attacking its suppliers, driving it to the brink of ruin. The man was terrified and begged for help because the city's disappearance would destroy all life around it. Ravel refused the request. He was in a hurry and had no intention of getting involved in the problems of a city he did not know. He suggested hiring mercenaries to handle the bandits. It turned out all the warriors had already been killed, and the mayor was relying on the hero who had defeated the orc Shalom. Laura cut in and offered Ravel a gold coin as a reward and a fast carriage to take him to the right place after the task. 1 gold coin would pay for a month of living. A fast horse and carriage would shorten the journey a lot. The boy was surprised the fee was so high. This city proved extremely profitable for traders. 1 coin is nothing compared with what can be lost through decline. At last, Ravel understood Laura's motives and agreed to help, even though he knew it was a very small price for such a dangerous task. The wisdom skill revealed more about the bandits, who usually attacked in groups from ambushes because they had low strength. These people had little talent, and society ignored them, so most became criminals. Ravel even partly understood them because he had lived it himself. Ravel decided not to worry about the bandits' motives. They strike without warning, so he would use the element of surprise and quietly neutralize them one by one at night. He did not want to spill blood, so he chose not to use his sword. The bandits did not expect a night attack, and the first of them immediately felt Ravel's power. He tried to resist, but Ravel dodged, and for the first time strengthened his body, landing a precise and crushing blow. The powerful thug fell to the ground, and it became clear he was not as scary as he tried to seem. Moving deeper into the cave, Ravel skillfully neutralized enemies one by one, and his confidence grew. It reminded him of the training his father had talked about. Just as the sweep was almost done, a weapon was thrown at him from the dark. It was the leader, far stronger than the others. The giant, angry bandit shouted that the boy had destroyed his entire gang and ruined his plans. Ravel explained he had not killed anyone, only stunned him. The leader was surprised and warned that if the boy kept holding back, he would die. The leader's strike forced Ravel to dodge, but the enemy wouldn't stop. The blade was huge, and his muscles instantly grew several times, showing superhuman strength. He claimed the best swordsman gift, equal to the Royal Guard Knights. And Ravel was surprised that someone with that gift would be a criminal. The leader laughed, saying he had trained for a long time and grown bored, so stealing and killing had started to seem more fun. Ravel called him a real scoundrel, but the bandit just laughed and promised to crush the arrogant youth. A fierce attack began, with heavy strikes coming one after another. No opponent could stand such fury. Ravel remained unhurt, and even leaned forward to joke, calling the enemy's style a premier performance. The leader froze. The boy dodged every attack. His strikes were faster and more precise than Carlo's. Ravel's physical strength and magic had grown significantly. It showed that all his training had not been wasted. Once considered weak, he had now exceeded expectations. At last, the young man counterattacked, landing several crushing blows to the enemy's face that stunned him. The leader staggered and began to fall. Ravel was surprised. He had not expected such a quick victory. He told the enemy to get up and keep fighting when Laura suddenly appeared beside him and asked why he wanted that. The merchant praised Ravel for defeating an entire gang of robbers on his own. The young man wondered why she was here, but she only smiled because the bandits were terrorizing all the merchants and stealing their most valuable goods. Ravel now understood her true purpose. She wanted to enter the cave and take the treasures hidden inside. Her plan worked even better than expected, and she hoped it would make all the merchants owe her. Rummaging through the loot, the girl searched for something very important, and a few minutes later, she found it. Smiling, she showed Ravel a small wooden cage containing a strange creature that looked like a tiny dragon. All the bandits were caught and handed to the guards. Ravel received a gold coin and a carriage with a horse, and Laura found what she was looking for. Suddenly, the little dragon ate a very rare ingredient, and the girl became frightened. Ravel did not understand why this was such a tragedy. He said the baby didn't understand anything yet, and Laura explained the ingredient was incredibly rare and vital to the guild. She admitted she should have delivered it right after the mission, because then people would have called her a hero. But now that chance is gone. The ingredient could make a royal dish, and another will not appear for 100 years. Ravel tried to fix the ingredient problem by suggesting they buy it, but it cost at least 5 platinum coins, and each of those coins is worth 100 gold coins. The young man was stunned. To earn that sum, he would have to destroy at least 500 gangs, and there were nowhere near that many in the whole country. So Laura paused and decided on a different plan. With a sly smile, she suggested repaying the debt with her body. And when Ravel reacted, she quickly explained she meant hiring him as a guard for the city of Vermania. The city was a large trading center with many guilds and shops, and most important, it lay on Ravel's road, so the escort did not change his plans. The boy made clear the job should cost exactly 5 platinum coins. Laura just smiled. Her guild had plenty of influential and very wealthy merchants. Lately, monsters have become unusually aggressive, something we haven't seen in years. And food is spoiling while people are afraid to transport goods. Right now, she says, it's the perfect time to buy all the damaged goods for next to nothing and resell them in the city of Valsia, where prices have jumped. Ravel was not surprised. The girl could find a way to profit even in a disaster, and he said with admiration that such situations were opportunities for major investments. After a short hesitation, the young man agreed. Laura asked again if she could trust him with her life, and Ravel promised he would do everything to protect her. Fighting powerful monsters and getting stronger was exactly what he needed. They shook hands to seal the agreement. Laura then reminded Ravel that because he is not a merchant, he must sign a contract of submission, or the guards will seize the hatchling as an unregistered monster. He was surprised she hadn't mentioned it earlier. Laura just laughed and said, "I forgot." And sure enough, without a contract, they couldn't get into the city. Ravel asked the little dragon if he wanted to sign the contract. The youngster nodded, and the fat companion muttered irritably that everyone here had lost their minds. The taming skill is given only after you willingly bond with a monster, and you can learn it only if the city's system has that talent. The conditions for gaining this skill are written in the sage's records, but Ravel doubted the rules were accurate and thought something might have changed. The instructions say the contract requires telepathy. Without that skill, nothing will work. Activate telepathy by using your will to move magical energy from yourself to your partner. You also need the skill to circulate magic. Ravel considered that those with demonic power in their veins could do the same, even without the usual conditions. Understanding all this, he focused, although he was not sure he could, and at that moment, Laura shouted that monsters were coming. Once again, the world seemed to have gone mad. Ravel remembered the bandit attack and could not understand why she chose this path. Although he was promised a good reward, Laura proved very skilled with the wagon, and the fast horse helped them get away from the monsters. After escaping, they decided to stop in the forest and rest. They had only 1 day left before Vermania, so they needed to sign the contract quickly. Laura suggested he accompany her by day and train for the contract at night. She did not see the point of those silly rituals, but Ravel asked her to take them seriously. The girl asked whether she had understood correctly that his true goal was the city of Flapara and why he guarded that little dragon so fiercely. Laura was in a hurry, so she didn't get to ask the mayor what made this dragon special. Ravel explained that he had promised to protect the creature and had to keep his word. If signing a contract is needed, he will do it. Then the man asked Laura about her main goal. The girl stayed silent, watching in awe as Ravel kindled a fire with magic, unable to believe he had such power. Meanwhile, Ravel calmly asked what they would eat for dinner, since it was their last meal before reaching the city. Laura no longer thought about food. She was stunned because she had never met anyone who could both use magic and fight with bare hands, since only special people can awaken it. Ravel was more modest. He treated making fire as a basic, useful skill and simply practiced until he mastered it, which impressed the girl even more. Ravel asked if the girl thought he was laughing at her, and Laura was sure he truly had great potential and exceptional abilities. The boy then remembered Anna, the strongest fighter with an extremely rare gift, who could defeat 100 opponents on her own and had amazed everyone at the Hero Academy. Ravel explained that he'd promised to be stronger than her and to protect her at all costs, so he must train harder and become even stronger. A slight sting of jealousy hit Laura as she wondered whether Anna was his lover. But Ravel dodged the question and hurried back to drawing up the contract with the dragon. To bind their magic, he tried to merge his power with the young dragons, but it was not easy. Their magical waves did not align, and merging required adjusting the frequency. To tune the magic, start with a narrow stream of power and expand it slowly. This forms the basic magical flow that can unite different beings. Concentrating, Ravel began to blend magical energy with the dragon's power. The main thing was not to make a mistake. The dragon suddenly roared, and Ravel asked it not to interfere because creating a telepathic link required concentration. The efforts paid off. Within minutes, the energy wave stabilized. Ravel realized the dragon was not just screaming, but warning him. A monster crept up behind him, and Ravel reacted in time, leaping up and striking immediately. Fear shot through him, but he could not stop as a huge tree monster headed straight for him. Ravel moved to burn the creature, but the dragon stopped him after hearing a girl's cries from inside the tree. The little dragon asked to be untied, and Ravel quickly cut the rope. The baby rushed toward a tree full of bloodthirsty branches. He searched for Laura without fear, and Ravel watched with pride as the new companion quickly found the source of the sound. Laura was trapped in the branches and could not move, so Ravel rushed to save her, cutting the wood with a heavy blade. The monster could not withstand the blows, and the tree's trunk shattered into pieces, scattering debris and sharp branches all around. Laura thanked Ravel for saving her, but he pointed out that the little dragon deserved the credit for finding her first. Gently stroking the little boy, the girl thanked him warmly. In reply, he gave only a soft purr, like a contented kitten. In the end, Ravel completed the ritual and sealed the contract with telepathy. The dragon was now officially his companion. The boy named him Kaya, and the little dragon liked the name. They could move on. Ravel still felt guilty for missing Laura's disappearance and the attack, and he promised to be more careful afterward. Meanwhile, Laura remembered the prophetic words that she would meet the holder of the talent Diligence, who would help her achieve great success. Watching Ravel wield a sword, use fire magic, and even tame a dragon, she no longer doubted he was the one. If the deity's words are true, this boy is the key to her future. She did not yet know how. The goddess spotted Ravel and warned him that a hard road lay ahead, and if he did not give his all, Anna would die. Ravel went to see Mr. Colt and learned that he had not left his study for a long time and was studying black magic. After gaining the talent, Colt tried to master all knowledge as quickly as he could. His aura became steadily stronger. He got the top wizard talent, the Sage skill, which gives access to any knowledge and makes its holder a walking encyclopedia. The friends arrived in Vermania, the largest trading city in Tyria, where every guild had its own influence and the heritage of the cults was protected by the state. As soon as they arrived, Laura went to the trading company and Ravel and Kaya, carrying a map, headed off to find a hotel, and were impressed by its scale. The city's streets buzzed with crowds. Ravel felt uneasy and quickly found a quieter street. The little dragon Kaya worried they might get lost. The young man walked confidently until he came across several girls, clearly local prostitutes, waiting for a generous client. The entertainment district had everything thrill-seekers wanted. The unusual appearance of a young man drew the attention of girls used to rough types. Ravel and Kaya did not like it here at all, because every look showed greed and contempt and made them uneasy. Beside the girls stood their guards, real bandits. When they saw Ravel, they decided to rob him and sell the little dragon for a large sum. The narrow lane felt like their kingdom. They pictured roughing up the boy and taking his things. Ravel refused to yield. A powerful blow knocked one attacker out, and in the narrow passage, it was even easier than on open ground. The other attackers refused to fall back, attacking again and again, as Ravel deftly dodged and urged them to retreat while they could still stand. The bandits only laughed. The girls, however, begged them to stop and not start a fight in the street. The attackers were ruthless, and the attacks continued. The noise drew passers-by who ran into the narrow alley. Ravel defended masterfully, blocking blows with smooth coordination, and a local girl was impressed by his skill and tried to repay him by seducing him, but he refused. Just as the girl pressed against him, a young sorceress appeared, drawn by the commotion. Shocked by the scene, she vowed to stop the violence immediately. Ravel tried to explain that he had been attacked himself, but the locals were already scattering. The witch cast an air spell that swept across the whole street. Ravel knew magic in a confined space could destroy all the nearby shops, so he focused and stopped the flow of magic, recalling his training. His success stunned the sorceress. The stranger had dispelled the spell without a special tool, and she could not believe it. Ravel cast restraining magic to stop her, but an older man suddenly appeared behind her and told her to stop. It was Mr. Colt himself, a man of great wisdom and the guardian of ancient knowledge. He warned her not to use such magic in the city. The boy who stopped the spell with his bare hands impressed him and proved he had a huge reserve of magical energy. Colt asked the boy to say his name, and Ravel answered without hesitation. The mage explained that without Ravel's intervention, the consequences would have been catastrophic. The girl accused him of provoking it, but Ravel again reminded them he had been attacked first. Mr. Colt did not ask for details and simply invited Ravel to his estate, promising a warm welcome. The boy was surprised. Ravel reminded them he had little time, but Colt assured them he would gladly welcome the guests, and they moved on. Laura did not welcome the meeting, and Ravel immediately realized the two already knew each other, and that something might have happened between them. Colt's estate was strikingly elegant, and within minutes they were inside. Ravel felt he was an exceptionally rare man. Laura explained, Colt Viminia is the heir to a wealthy family that founded this town, which is why he is so rich. Once settled in the spacious room, Colt began talking about a rare book he had recently acquired, but was unsure was genuine. Ravel asked if he had already read it. Colt said he was doing exactly that. His confidence amused Laura, who told him to work on his own disgust, despite his rare talent. Ravel didn't understand why a mere shopkeeper acted so brazenly toward the estate owner. Laura explained that Colt only respects magic, and even took this book from the shopkeeper without permission. He believed that following human rules would not reveal the depths of magic. Laura suggested they go far away to search for true magic. Ravel was outraged, but she only asked why Colt, with the talent of an entire city, had not yet joined the Academy of Heroes. Ravel realized that Mr. Colt, like his friend, had top-level talent. Wanda explained that he had planned to enter the Hero Academy, but ultimately abandoned the idea to prepare for the role of heir. Colt admitted that even his refusal caused surprise, since the Academy of Heroes does not tolerate refusals. In the end, they gave in. Ravel still did not believe in this strange world. Lara remained unsettled about why Colt refused training despite not planning to be an heir, and a deeper reason soon came to light. Mr. Colt asked about Ravel's talent. Ravel said he was just a wizard, and that his skills let him put out Lana's magic. Colt praised his skill. At last, Ravel decided to tell the truth. His true talent had always been Dylan. Hearing that, Colt stepped in close, which frightened the boy. It turned out the boy had long heard of the one who was to receive Dylan's talent. Mr. Colt remembered that on the night he got his talent, God told him about a person with the talent of diligence he would meet if he did not go to the academy. That person was supposed to help him learn magic. Ravel listened carefully and asked what he planned to do next. Colt said, without hesitation, that he would travel with Ravel, because together they could advance further in learning magic. Lara interrupted the conversation and said she would travel with Ravel too. The young man was surprised because she had not shown much interest before. Colt only advised not to try to understand Lara, since as a trader she would do anything for profit. If this girl wants to be near, she must have an ulterior motive. Lara blushed, but couldn't think of anything to say. Ravel realized that although Lara is cunning, his talent and hard work are real achievements, and together they can gain knowledge and wealth. Seeing the girl worried, Ravel offered to travel with her. Both magic and following the rules mattered to him, so a reliable partner on the road would help. Lara is overly greedy, but life teaches her every day, and Kaya wants to stay close because Lara gives him his favorite almonds. When Colt asked whether the boy planned to sell his little dragon, Lara said angrily that she would not allow it because Kaya is her true friend. This surprised everyone because Lara had always put money above everything, and Lana opposed traveling together, saying it was unacceptable for such a sage to travel with a strange company. Abandoning the legacy and the academy for a dubious alliance felt unthinkable, but Colt stayed firm and asked Lana to handle everything while he was away. At that moment, Lana felt something strange. Colt's magic made her flush instantly and feel detached, as if she were watching herself. Colt apologized to the guests and said he had to step away, but no one knew his true reasons. Lana couldn't shake a strange feeling. Once the girl came to, she suddenly promised to fully support Mr. Colt and take care of all his affairs. Ravel suspected she had been under magical influence. Colt confirmed he had simply pulled a thought from her mind. Since heirs who refuse an inheritance must leave the house, that rule can now be used. Ravel already knew how powerful psychic magic was, and the processes were very complex, so he asked if Colt was sure of his choice. He explained that as estates and merchant guilds grew richer, there were more disputes. Lana can find a compromise, though she is not infallible. Kind aristocrat Lana patrols the streets, learns how ordinary people live, and realizes no one wants to live in poverty. Colt clarified he is from the main branch of the family, while Lana is from a junior branch, and because of stupid rules, she cannot inherit the main line. Ravel suggested they should break the rules. Colt agreed. Psychic magic covered not just the manor, but anyone who might interfere. The road ahead was long, but Ravel chose to see it through and earn the title of Grand Master. Just then, the cheerful maids announced that everything was ready for the journey, even the packed books on black magic that Colt had not had time to read. Surprised by their loyalty, Ravel called Colt a true master of mind control. Colt smiled and confessed it was his first time using a mental attack, and he had only recently read about this effective method in an old book. Hearing the conversation, Lana asked Colt if he had wanted to use psychic magic on her, and he replied thoughtfully that she had no idea how it all works. Ravel realized that although it seemed underhanded, those methods were sometimes necessary. His hard work gave him calm, strength, and confidence. Combined with wisdom, they became a path to absolute power. Inspired, Colt urged them not to wait and go together, because side by side, they could do something incredible. Ravel reminded them of the strange structure of his magic and asked Colt what he thought. He replied that of all the theories of magic he had encountered, something like this appeared only in legends about lost magic. Colt was fascinated by Ravel's rare skills and asked him to tell more. Ravel did not realize he had ancient magic because he was just learning and already skilled. The journey they began after leaving the city was full of joy and adventure, and the monsters they met along the way became great training. With no serious threats, Colt and Ravel studied magic and shared knowledge. Lara and Lana found common ground, and Kayaya enjoyed the friendly atmosphere. Labyrinth City was a real challenge, drawing daring adventurers who came to test themselves. A vast labyrinth suddenly appeared and kept changing shape, spawning magical creatures. Only one man, Satira, ever returned alive and rich. Before going there, you must choose a guild. Lara promised to help with the choice, but you'll have to join on your own. Colt warned that Lara cannot be trusted because only he knows the truth. A strange girl with long ears appeared and offered Lara a place in her guild, claiming it was the best, but Lara refused immediately. Seeing people get nervous shows this guild is too small to attract strong members. Pick a stronger organization with better prospects. The girl with ears insisted that real swordmasters come from her guild. Colt found it amusing, and Ravella liked the idea, but Lara warned there are other ways to become stronger. A stranger explained that talent is not required in her guild. They push spirit and body to the limit. That is why most cannot endure. Ravel still suggested checking the spot. Lara said it would be a waste of time, but Colt ordered them to turn right. They reached the huge guild building and were stunned by its size. Colt was no less surprised because his hunch had failed. Lara grew angry at how such a lowly guild could have a structure like this. But inside, there was silence and emptiness. The girl immediately ran to the only man, who was an acquaintance. Angry at her father for not caring about her, she felt ashamed in front of others, and Ravel watched, wondering how they could be a family. The bald dad said the number of students went up this year, but the girl reminded him she was only 12. Colt was shocked and did not know what was happening. The man explained that most newcomers run away when they face difficulties. No one wants to leave their comfort zone or handle stress. Tipsy, he loudly called Aiden's name, the student he was proud of. Ravel froze. Colt noticed the reaction and asked what was happening. Ravel said that Aiden was his father's name. Maybe it was just a coincidence. The drunk old man grew interested. With surprising agility, he snatched the young man's sword and began to examine it. The familiar patterns on the guard were clear at once. Ravel demanded the weapon back angrily. The old man's memory returned at once, and he recognized the boy as Aiden's son. He asked again if it was really the swordmaster's son, and admitted he learned about the boy from an old letter Aiden once sent. Everyone was stunned by the truth. No one suspected that Ravel's father was a legendary swordsman who trained in the village, so Ravel is not an ordinary mage. Ira considered new possibilities. Bonzo, stunned by the unexpected meeting, could not remember how many years had passed since his last conversation with Aiden. Borzo kept talking, introduced his daughter, admitted he had once been a heavy sword demon, and said Aiden would surely remember their friendship. Ravel heard about this bald giant for the first time. Borzo did not take offense. It was in Aiden's nature. He began to remember how incredible that young man had been. Even as they talked, Borzo kept hold of the bottle and, savoring another sip, spoke enthusiastically about Aiden's talents. Ravel knew nothing of it. For Borzo, Aiden was the best student, skilled and strong, as if blessed by the gods themselves. Ravel knew his father had long buried his gift. Borzo seemed determined to get him to join the guild. Harsh training had long driven students away. Colt explained the decline was caused by a lack of effort. Most simply left, unable to keep up with the pace. Borzo agreed, but said with pride that the guild still exists. The arrival of Aiden's son brings a chance to follow his path, face the trials, and join the Brotherhood. Refusing to waste a minute, Borzo urged Ravel to start training immediately to master a special sword technique. The young man did not share the excitement and suggested delaying it a little because he wanted to learn about other guilds. This shocked Borzo and Iru. The girl begged him not to waste time, but Borzo disagreed and wanted to explore everything so he could see that the other guilds were worthless. Ravel realized that people come to the labyrinth for experiences you cannot get in ordinary life. Small guilds often cannot provide those. Angry at her father, Ira felt all her efforts were wasted. She had tried so hard to attract even one person. Colt urged them to move on, since the long-eared girl might not let them go. The next stop was the Red Wolf Guild, livelier and clearly better regarded by adventurers. Once seated, everyone agreed the place was pleasant and had a good reputation. High-ranking scouts were here. It turned out, rank determines access to tasks and enemies, from simple errands to battles with monsters that can destroy whole nations. Colt supported the idea of developing here. Lara sincerely felt sorry for Ira. A quarrel broke out by the entrance, as the boys argued over who deserved the title of a true warrior. One of them, named Ajito, noticed the newcomers and asked if they really wanted to join the guild. Colt smiled. The day was full of surprises. Ravel felt something familiar as the young man gave off arrogance and pride. Ajito suggested they each describe their abilities. First, Colt boasted of his wisdom and impressed the boy. Then Ravel mentioned Dylan's talent. Ajito had never heard of it and said they should leave because this guild was not for people like them. Ravel realized he was right about that arrogant fool. Ajito said he only cared about the strong, so he'd take Colt and the others should go. Ravel decided it was better not to deal with people like him. Colt called Ajito pathetic because strength is not measured by talent, but by achievement, endurance, and will. Ajito believed only talent determined a person's worth, and no training could change that. No one could argue with that. The guilds were indeed looking for newcomers, but judging them only by talent would be unwise. Ravel decided to tease Ajito a little and said that if the weakling beat him, the great swordsman, all the pomp would be gone. Ajito went red with rage, his eyes bloodshot, determined to crush anyone who dared challenge him. Suddenly, a cat girl appeared beside him, sarcastically asking if he was arguing with someone again and calling him a fool. Ravel's friends watched silently, unsure what else to expect from this gathering. The promising guild turned out to be a den of overconfident fools who at the first chance tried to prove something. Ajito added at the end that they would meet at the newcomers' tournament anyway, and then everyone would see what they could do. The bard knew nothing about the tournament, but the kitten Lizzie explained that once a year the city holds a beginners' tournament, a major event that boosts the winning guild's reputation. Once they left the guild, the friends sighed with relief because the place had been awful. Everyone agreed that in this city, strength rules, and Red Wolf was a good choice for advancement. Ajito munched a burger and dreamed of proving he was better in fights against the new opponents, but Lizzie warned him not to get so relaxed. Pointing to a thin cut on his belly, she said that if Ravel had wanted, he could have cut him before the sword touched his neck. He never realized how close he was to losing. Overconfidence is dangerous. Real strength is mastery, not arrogance. If you don't understand that, you're still too green. Ravel paused, knowing that winning the tournament would make him famous, get him good assignments, and give him access to real trials. Friends only laughed. The plan was too clever for an ordinary guy. Colt, however, supported it and said fame on his own was a great idea. Everyone agreed on one thing. The Red Wolf Guild left a nasty aftertaste, and no one wanted to go back. The friends returned to the empty Borzo Guild. Before going in, they discussed the prospects and how hard the training would be. Colt was not eager to work hard, but they kept persuading him. Tournament day had arrived. The main arena buzzed with the crowd, and the charming host, Kana, introduced commentator Sid of the Red Wolf Guild, who was an S-class adventurer. The hosts warmed up the crowd, and soon a signal sounded to start the first round, marking the start of the show. Participants, the guild's best swordsmen, Ajito and Ravel, who had to prove the power of his talent, diligence. The crowd laughed, saying a boy with the diligence skill could not match a top-class swordsman, but Lara told everyone to be quiet and watch. Borzo watched the arena closely and truly hoped Ravel would win, though he doubted it because the opponent was too experienced. He wanted the boy to win, to crush that arrogant braggart, and then the announcers declared the start of the fight. The recorders caught the announcers' voices clearly, and the arena fell silent as everyone prepared for the newcomers' spectacular duel. Just a few weeks ago, on the first day in the city, friends hosted a welcome party. The food was a hit, everyone praised the quality of the ingredients, and the little dragon Q squealed happily while enjoying the tastiest pieces. Seeing the animal for the first time, Ira heard Ravel say it was only a baby and would grow. So she, naive, asked permission to hug it. In her arms, the little dragon melted, feeling warmth and gentleness and knowing she was a very kind person. Ravel was surprised because Q had never reacted so emotionally to anyone, and the dragon himself called him an expert at reading souls. Meanwhile, Borzo drank a few mugs of lemonade and decided to talk seriously. Despite not becoming an adventurer, Lara had a knack for trade, ran the business well, and saved it from bankruptcy. After carefully reviewing all the documents, she found that Borzo had long left adventuring because of an injury. Despite this, Lara asked Borzo and Urot about their talents. Urot proved to be a magical archer and took great pride in it. Ravel heard this for the first time, and Colt was not surprised. Ira explained that thanks to her talent, she can fire magic bullets that are very effective from a distance, and her favorite weapon is a pair of pistols. Colt asked for the weapons to be assessed. Lara said they were inexpensive. Ira admitted she could not afford anything better. Ravel found these pistols too weak. Colt asked Ravel why he wanted to get stronger, since he had already reached a high level. His friends guessed it was because of a girl, but Ravel told them not to make things up. He spoke about Anna, a childhood friend who did not want to fight, but hoped to join the Academy of Heroes, so they had to part, hoping to meet again. If Anna joins the Academy, she will be enlisted in the army and become a defender. Ravel promised to become stronger to protect her from the horrors of war. Friends were moved by his sincere intentions. The girls were happy and genuinely jealous of Anna, since not every girl is lucky enough to receive care from a guy who honestly earns his strength. For the first time, Ravel revealed his true purpose to them. Eager, he suggested they start special training right away, and all his friends supported him, each wanting to see him as the strongest swordsman. A few weeks passed, and it was time to try out his new abilities. Agito, confident, promised to show everything he had learned after their meeting at the Red Wolf. Ravel only snorted. Agito's new uniform explained it. All of Lizzie's posturing looked like a cheap act, so he kept his plans to himself and only warned them to be careful. Agito waved it off, not caring about his reputation because victory mattered most. The chatter should stop, and they should get down to business. Hungry for glory, Agito rushed into a swift attack, but his moves were too predictable, and Ravel was already waiting. This time, he was not going to hold back and fought at full strength. That was exactly what Agito wanted, and he reminded him that death in this arena was impossible because the highest level magic protects the participants. A fighter is declared defeated only when his life energy drops to 0, but he does not die. Thanks to these rules, all participants can fight without holding back and without fear for their lives. The audience was thrilled. Opinions were split. Some backed Agito, while others cheered for Ravel, who was seen as far less likely to win. This fight reminded Ravel of his youth, of training with his father in his home village. That may have helped him get into the Academy of Heroes, but now he no longer copies other people's moves. Within minutes, Agito realized his opponent was no fool, and Ravel promised he would show everything he had learned. These were not empty words. The preparation was hard. He trained non-stop, with his friends watching. Borzo ran everything and trained as well as his father had. His method was harsh, but effective. Meanwhile, Lara sat bored beside the dragon. Borzo kept reminding everyone that staying focused in any situation matters. Running with weight is a great way to train both strength and self-control. With each step, Ravel felt fierce resistance, as Borzo's gravity magic was extremely strong. Training drained her completely. Ira could not bear the strain, and felt even more certain she had chosen the trader's path rather than the fighter's. Ravel refused to stop. Clenching his teeth, he gathered all his magical power and pressed on. Only his effort kept him from falling like Ira. Borzo silently admired his stubbornness. Even that was not enough, and Ravel finally lost control of his body and collapsed as Lara ran up, worried. Ravel could resist gravity with magic and boost his strength, but his body could not adapt fast enough to those changes. He lacked control. To get that result again, he'll have to start from scratch. Unlike him, Colt moved forward with remarkable focus, and that earned respect. It was clear Colt fought the gravity magic with his own powerful magic. Only a truly strong sorcerer could do that. Seeing Ravel's confusion, Colt told him he wouldn't protect Anna like this and asked how he would help if Borzo attacked her. Borzo realized Colt was just trying to motivate the boy and asked Colt not to cast the boy as a villain, but the tactic worked, and Ravel immediately pulled himself together. Colt's words strengthened his spirit, and now, facing Agito in the duel, he felt a powerful inner surge, while observers were amazed that Ajito's unmatched attacks were not hitting their mark. Everyone said Ajito was the best swordsman and hunter and always had the advantage. This time, he could not hit and was losing his composure. Impatience overwhelmed him, driving him to end the strange fight. Ravel had been waiting for the opponent to lose balance and become vulnerable to a counterattack. Lara and Borzo watched with excitement, and it was all the result of proper training. This technique was meant for fighting monsters, but Ajito was different, and the chosen strategy fit perfectly even though Lara was still worried. Ravel expertly dodged and countered, his body growing more flexible with every fight. Everyone realized the boy could attack at any time, barely using magic, and his strikes were completely unpredictable. The crowd went wild with excitement, impressed by his skill with life force and magic, all thanks to the exceptional talent Diligence. Sid and Kanna couldn't understand why their predictions failed, or why the Red Wolf Guild's best swordsman was losing in front of everyone. Ajito, though used to losing in life, was now determined to see it through, even if it meant everything would end. Death. He praised his opponent for that determination. The slow, wearing-down tactic was really paying off. Ravel wondered whether he felt ashamed of losing to a novice. Ajito admitted it was humiliating, but the fight was not over. Ravel already felt total dominance. His opponent had lost focus, and only the decisive blow remained. The moment arrived, and the blow to the nape came without warning. Even the seasoned swordsman staggered, and the crowd froze in shock. Everyone realized it was magic. No one even noticed the fireball appear. The dramatic effect of that trick stunned everyone. Creating enough space for the attack required planning ahead. Ravel cleverly kept the enemy at a distance. Not going to waste the chance, he gathered his strength and readied his strongest strike. For him, it was a step toward his main goal, becoming stronger to fulfill his duty. At last, Ravel landed the decisive hit, and Ajito's life energy fell to zero. The arena erupted in applause. The hosts announced the winner. Everyone was stunned. The best swordsman lost quickly and decisively. Lara and her friends did not hide their admiration. No one doubted that Ravel had become the tournament favorite. His magical energy was critically low. Despite this, he recovered quickly and defeated his second opponent, Oscar, a swordsman from the Crowned Sword Guild. In the third round, he beat Gold, an axe warrior from the Flying Axe Guild. After those wins, his name rang out, and he entered the fourth round determined to become champion. The crowd was thrilled, and until recently, no one believed in Ravel. But now, everyone saw how his hard work had turned him into a formidable opponent. Next up was an enchanting magical huntress who had come through the previous fights without a single scratch. Arriving with 2 pistols, she caused a stir, and many believed she alone could stop Ravel. Ranged weapons posed a serious threat. Ravel was ready. The hosts solemnly announced the start of the fight. A week before the tournament, Ira was furious when her favorite pistols exploded while she was shooting. Lara explained they couldn't withstand the magical charges because their quality was too low. Ravel was very worried that the girl might have been hurt and suggested postponing training because he had a bad feeling. Lara suggested ordering new pistols, but Ira knew pistols from other countries cost at least 100 gold. Her old pair was a gift from her father, a foreign craftsman. No one would take on the repairs because it was too expensive. So Ira decided that winning the tournament was her only way to earn money for a new weapon. Despite everything, the huntress still feared defeat. Lara asked Ravel to explain to Ira that there was another way out. Ravel volunteered to make the revolvers himself, saying it's like cooking from a recipe, you just need the materials, and Lara laughed at first and urged Colt to intervene. Ravel had no instructions, of course. A little experimentation can make another weapon. The key is to get magical iron. Lara still had a small stock and did not want to give it away for nothing, but Ravel examined the piece of iron with interest, decided he could not waste time, and planned to use his alchemy skills to make a weapon for the first time. The girls watched closely, and Ravel, inspired by seeing them with pistols, set out to design a matched pair of weapons called erotic pistols. He began by making the barrel, then attached the grip, and later added the sight and shaped the curve. The heroine was impressed. Ravel really looked like a master gunsmith. Even Colt admired his skill with the magical metal. Anyone who paid attention could see the similarity between magic and alchemy. The metal proved stronger than Ravel expected, and he lacked the magic to complete the process. Ira doubted, but still believed in success. The huntress thanked the boy sincerely for his determination. It surprised her that he would dare to make a weapon when her pistols broke. At that moment, Borzo, leader of the Red Wolf, appeared and, hearing about a new weapon for Ira, praised the boy as truly his father's son. It was time to test the pistols at the tournament. Ira planned to hang back and attack from a distance. Ravel knew if he did not close fast, the bullets would get him. He rushed forward as Kana, the leader, shouted that bullets were already skimming the ground. Training together, Ravel learned Ira's strategy and looked for a weakness in her defense to use when the moment came. Swiftly maneuvering, he dodged the magic bolts, closed in, and landed a powerful blow that knocked the weapon from her hands. The arena erupted in applause. Then came a surprise. Ravel refused to deliver the final blow. Kana shouted into the microphone, confused by his actions. Ira was in despair. Ravel thought Ira could do more. She just needed to learn to use pistols better. Even unarmed, she still had the skills her father taught her. In any situation, fighting to the end was required. Understanding it all, she still felt afraid. Tears filled her eyes. She admitted it was hard to believe in herself. Ravel was not confident either, but he always worked toward his goals and believed that effort mattered more than talent. Ira needed to be more careful with her wishes and not give up, even when everything was against her, because her father had always believed in her strength. Lizzie noticed Agito lost in thought. He admitted he's still analyzing his defeat, so it won't happen again. Cunning Lizzie took pleasure in reminding him of his defeat. Agito barely held back his emotions, admitting he couldn't handle Ravel. Lizzie explained that Ravel prepared well, learned Agito's style, and won through his talent and hard work. Agito became furious and vowed never to lose again, doing everything he could to become stronger. Lizzie knew that defeat sometimes opened her eyes, and that ordinary effort could turn into real strength. Perseverance was the foundation of Ravel's development. He achieved the incredible, and Lizzie believed that dark magic at the center of everything must be destroyed. In the arena, Ira finally gathered her strength. Her tears dried, and anger restored her power, and she charged into the attack. The crowd erupted. She dodged skillfully, countered, and moved with speed. Tension reached its peak. Pushing her attacker aside, she grabbed the pistols and fired magical bullets. Kana was overwhelmed by the screams, and Borzo was proud of his daughter. Bullets flew incredibly fast, but Ravel deftly parried them with his sword. Ira kept her distance, using her usual tactic. This tactic won her the first duel. Now Ravel knew what to do. Though fear rose again, the huntress did not stop. She decided to surprise her opponent with a sudden shot, but Ravel dodged at the last moment. Something unexpected happened. Ira suddenly felt a sharp pain. The host guessed powerful magic had affected her, and her life force fell sharply. Kana kept commenting on every move and announced that Ravel was closing in, another step toward his next victory. As soon as Ravel closed in, Ira sharply raised her hand and pulled the trigger, faking weakness to trick her opponent. The whole thing was a trick. Pretending to be exhausted caught Ravel off guard, and now she had a chance to deliver the final blow. The guy believed her because Ira often fainted during training, but this time she looked confident and was in the perfect position. Her finger pressed the trigger, but nothing happened. Ira was surprised. The sound was familiar, and she remembered where she had heard it. At that moment, she realized that Ravel had used alchemy again and altered the pistols so they lost their magic. She was ready to fight unarmed. Ravel acted first. His swift sword strike was a critical hit. The crowd burst into applause, and Ira realized she had no chance to win. Despite the loss, the girl promised to be stronger next time. Ravel was pleased with the fight and promised to wait for a rematch. They shook hands, and host Kanna announced that the fight between members of the same guild was over. The victory went to Ravel. Mr. Colt was not happy. It annoyed him that Ravel had reached that level and won the girl's respect. He saw all those friendly ties as nonsense that got in the way of his one goal, power and glory. A maid found a book about Colt's father's fighting skills in the trash. The boy just shrugged. He already knew it all. The maid protested that books must not be thrown away and told him to talk less and practice magic more. Meanwhile, Kanna announced the start of the final round, and the competitors nobody expected in the final faced each other as the crowd cheered. The crowd chanted as the host urged viewers not to miss the most important match of the tournament. In the final are the wise Colt and the crowd favorite Ravel, a tireless newcomer whose strength is hard work and endurance. Colt saw Ravel had no weapon, yet Ravel was confident and fought this time only to prove who was stronger. Ravel said he wanted to become the strongest in the world, and to achieve that, he had to defeat the sage. So he trained long and hard. Kanna assumed Ravel would fight using only magic. That promised a spectacular battle. Colt laughed. He was not going to surrender. The opponent's overconfidence amused him. At the same time, he praised Ravel, at least for his enthusiasm. Colt wasted no time and cast a fire arrow straight at Ravel, but the boy dodged and tried to neutralize the magical attack. No critical damage was taken. Kanna shouted that the flame had disappeared. Colt already realized that Ravel had used wind magic to scatter the stream of fire. Colt admitted Ravel was a skilled wizard, but called him a pathetic man, and Ravel did not respond to the provocation. Colt argued that Ravel's goal was pointless, saying protecting someone was foolish, but if they combined their knowledge, they could achieve anything. Ravel refused to betray his dreams. Friends and goals were not worthless, but his path to strength. Colt was not satisfied with the answers and swore never to waste time again on useless people like Ira or others from the guild. Colt wanted to win, to prove to Ravel that he was wrong, and his path led nowhere. A great sage struck suddenly, but Ravel avoided it by jumping aside. It only amused the smug Colt. The fight was heating up. Spectators in the stands waited for a turning point. Despite the frantic pace, neither side had the upper hand. Kanna was stunned. This was no longer a fight for rookies. Only seasoned adventurers could wield such magic. With each minute, Ravel felt the tension rise, his strength fading as the enemy kept casting incredibly powerful spells. Sage Colt had nearly limitless magical energy and attacked without strategy, without holding back. Ravel, however, refused to give up. Anger boiled inside as he remembered arguing with Colt about magic and what truly has power. Colt always said what to learn and what to ignore. He especially disliked mental magic, which Ravel's experience showed can control even the strongest. Using it in open combat is dangerous because the enemy will become wary and the magic will lose its effectiveness. They discussed magic at length, but it was clear their paths were completely different. Colt believed they should focus only on ancient spells. Ravel wanted to master every kind of magic, seeking power and refusing to be confined to a narrow specialty. Colt saw it as a waste of time and preferred to focus only on powerful spells and magical energy. He advised discarding the unnecessary and diving into the true depths of magic. Ravel remained true to his beliefs and acted with steady focus. Watching Colt, he realized no magic came from him and that he may have learned to hide it through his wisdom and experience. Ravel did not think about losing and wanted to win, while Colt kept attacking and claiming Ravel could master any magic. Colt switched tactics, created glowing spheres around him, and readied a new magical attack. Magic struck Ravel, and he felt a surge of energy from every side, as if he were inside a magical storm. Pain was unbearable, and Ravel fell to his knees as Colt enjoyed his advantage. Bozo was upset and had not expected this result, though he admitted Colt's strength. La said she had never seen the sage so cruel. But Ravel, despite the pain, took the hit, met Colt's eyes, and said he was still ready to fight. Colt replied coldly and used an ancient spell and a magic stone to deliver the decisive blow. Ravel should say goodbye to hope. The sage concentrated an immense reserve of magical power. His only concern was whether Ravel could withstand such a powerful strike. Ravel was ready. He asked them not to hold back, since the whole crowd wanted to see what the great sage could do. Colt accepted the challenge. Just as he moved to attack, a magic circle formed in the arena. It was Ravel's trap, drawn while he maneuvered. Ravel made a clever move, repeating Colt's magic and amplifying it several times. The magic circle activated in the center of the arena. A fierce whirlwind rose like a hurricane, sweeping everything in its path as the air itself answered him. Even the audience could barely stay seated. At that moment, Ravel remembered the times he shared with Colt. While Ravel spent time with friends, Colt buried himself in books because he feared he would one day become unnecessary and forgotten. Ravel found those words funny at the time. He said the main thing was that Colt was interested in magic, so he did not dismiss the real power of persistence. His sincerity stunned Colt. He blushed and admitted he finally understood Ravel's true motives. At that moment, Ravel fell because his magic had run out. Colt thought he had won, but it was only a trick. That was a trick. Ravel attacked without warning. Colt was stunned by his words. It was the magic of illusion and psychological manipulation. Ravel tricked him with a tiny bit of magic, creating a convincing illusion. True power lies in mastery of structure. Colt resisted for a moment, but finally admitted defeat. Ravel, a regular guild member, managed to beat the great sage in a fair fight. The highlight came when Ravel was named the tournament winner. The crowd erupted, the host praised him, and his friends showed their pride. Bozo remembered how Ravel's father, Aiden, combined magic with the sword and attained perfection, and Bozo believed Ravel could follow the same path. A few weeks passed, and the city returned to normal life, but Agito still could not accept defeat. City noise and the market bustle annoyed him. Then someone called from behind. Loren was the merchant. She welcomed the new members to the updated guild, but Agito immediately pointed out errors on the notice board. Law thanked and promised to fix everything, then remembered that after the quest tournament, there were so many of them, she never had a moment to catch her breath. She described people coming for weapons, armor, and missions. There was only one reason for all of it. Ravel won the rookie tournament. Era, with long ears, was also popular and finished 5th. An irritated Agito lunged at the pile while shouting. Just then, Ira returned from another dangerous mission and immediately ordered Agito to apologize for his disgraceful behavior. Ira explained. He lost because he was overconfident and underestimated Ravel's talent. Believing strength was everything proved to be a serious mistake. Agito lost his temper and shoved the girls, refusing to hear any more about his weakness, and at that moment, Lizzie entered the guild. While the fight continued, everyone admired Colt. He changed the very structure of magic and created a new class of magic. Laura admitted she never would have imagined someone like Colt could change so much. A man with a mustache, likely a nobleman, approached him. That proved true. Colt made clear from the start that he didn't respect aristocrats much, though he may have been overly biased. The nobleman took no offense, embraced the young sage, and promised faithful friendship. He was ready to spend any amount on the young man's education. Lara watched with interest. Colt seemed to have a talent for drawing useful people who could provide a lot of important information. Meanwhile, Agito remembered Lizzie's abilities. She seemed idle, but never took criticism to heart, because she had already become an Arakid-class adventurer. Lizzie said Agito is training hard so he won't lose again, then asked where Ravel is now. Lara said Ravel trains relentlessly without rest. His goal is to master perfect swordsmanship. Each day he practiced fights, striking a fixed stone, but every blow only caused pain and made no progress. Despite all his efforts, he could not even leave a scratch. Borzo asked whether Ravel remembered what the stone was made of. It was orahulk, a mythical material of extraordinary hardness. It is hard to work with, but Ravel's father once managed to cut it. Borzo highly valued Ravel's skill in analyzing enemies and exploiting their weaknesses, and Ravel had a unique talent for tactics. When enemies attack in large numbers, you must defend and attack at the same time, so you need a weapon that destroys everything in its path. The irresistible incision technique exists. If Ravel masters it, he could become the strongest in the world. Concentration and talent pushed him forward. Magic made his body stronger, but much remained unclear, and Ravel knew he needed complete focus. Each missed strike brought pain and drained his energy, yet Ravel still could not understand how his father succeeded without magic. Each time he failed, he grew more determined and swore he would cut even an orahulk. At that moment, Lara arrived, excited to tell him she had been promoted, but she had only just come in. Ravella was gone, vanished without a trace, and the boy tried to make sense of what had happened and where, damn it, he was. Ravel looked around and felt a powerful magic flowing from every direction, then suddenly heard a gentle, enchanting woman's voice. A group of girls was fighting a terrible monster that could tear everything in its path, and the situation was critical. Then everything changed when Anna stepped into the fight and quickly attacked the monster. Her arrival was unexpected and gave hope. With Dragon Knight Anna's help and teamwork, the girls defeated the monster. They hoped to get high scores. Everyone cheered, but Anna stayed focused, feeling something was wrong, as if the danger had not passed. The other girls calmed themselves, insisting there were no monsters on the academy grounds. Everyone wanted to get to the gym as soon as possible. The calm quickly turned to horror as something huge and dangerous approached, and it was Manticore, a massive creature with a red mane, a lion's head, and 3 rings on its tail. People called its urge to hunt an obsession. Manticore posed a deadly threat, so he was placed in the highest S rank. Luna decided to flee because the chances of victory were slim. Her escape only angered Manticore. Sensing her movements, he immediately began hunting. A monster attacked. Fortunately, no one was killed, but everyone felt unsafe after that. The girls, including Anna, were frightened and knew they had to run. But Anna had a different plan. Intent on distracting the monster, she told her friends to run. Confident in her abilities, she wanted the teachers to notice her. Anna was going to fight the most dangerous monster, despite Luna's firm objection, and she had already started preparing. Luna feared for her friend because few could stand up to Manticore, but Anna, despite her gentle nature, felt like a true warrior. Knowing who she faced, she hoped to hold on long enough to give others a chance to escape. Deep down, Anna was shy, but she could not allow herself to be humiliated in front of the academy and her friends. At that moment, Ravel came to mind, a childhood friend she would meet after 3 years apart. Fear filled her heart as she worried she could not keep her promise and quietly asked for forgiveness. Suddenly, Ravel appeared at her side. Anna could not believe it. The boy told her not to worry and that he was there to protect her. She forgot about the monster and wanted to speak, but Ravel firmly told her to wait because he had to keep his promise now. Focused, he looked into the eyes of a monster of that level for the first time. Mistakes were not an option. Anna was under his protection. The long-awaited reunion of two friends who dreamed of walking through life together again. First, they had to survive. Ravel was determined, promising Anna he would stand until his last breath, because that was the meaning of his life. A young man once met a goddess who looked like a beautiful woman. It did not surprise him, because Colt had warned him about this. The longer he looked at her, the more he realized she was a divine being who could change fates. The goddess broke the silence and asked to be heard because she had an important message for him. She was still smiling and said that Annie was now in mortal danger and he must intervene immediately. The goddess herself did not know how such a monster had appeared on the grounds of the elite academy. Ravel's bravery earned her respect. She suggested teleporting him to the monster. The boy asked why she wanted to help. The goddess said she had a personal interest. The goddess admitted she cared about the inhabitants of this world, even though she had to keep the balance, and instead of explaining, she acted. She announced it was time to leave and urged Ravel to defeat that horror since he had not yet faced a manticore. The young hero stood before the monster, ready to fight not for his life, but for the strength of his spirit. None of his strikes did any damage. The manticore's body had not a single scratch. It was clear physical attacks required a different approach. Anna watched the battle in horror, amazed at how skillfully her friend used magic. Even the magical fireballs were powerless. Sensing the danger, Ravel told Anna to leave, because he could not protect her and fight at the same time. A small dragon named Q flew to help and agreed to lead Anna away. It no longer mattered where he had come from. Ravel now stood alone before the terrifying monster. Knowing Anna was safe, he was ready to give everything he had. The manticore landed a painful blow, and its poison instantly paralyzed the body. Movements slowed, so magic had to be activated right away. Poisoned, he kept fighting. It was hard, but retreat was no longer an option. Against orders, Anna turned back, because she knew that if she did not help Ravel, he would die. Surprisingly, she understood the dragon's language, even though they had only met for a few minutes. Q felt a connection with her. It felt like they had known each other for a long time. Now was not the time to think. They had to save Ravel. Anna couldn't understand how he ended up in such danger. Q was just following his master's order to take her to a safe place. The dragon admitted it was hard for him to watch this battle, but orders are orders, so he asked Anna to use the Dragon Knight's power. There was no other choice. It was time to unlock her potential and save the man she loved. Meanwhile, Ravel fought off the monster's attacks, boosting his strikes with magic and trying to manage his energy. The pain in his left arm kept getting worse. The arm was almost paralyzed, but magic was building up there, just as Borzo had said. Ravel decided that if he let the poison spread, he might activate the unshakable blade, even though it was extremely dangerous. He hesitated, deciding whether to risk his life or pretend to be exhausted and strike unexpectedly. The monster did not pause for a moment. The attacks left no time to rest. The manticore suddenly stopped attacking because something distracted it. Ravel finally had a few moments to rest. A giant dragon came down from the sky, much bigger than the manticore and looking far more dangerous. Ravel immediately recognized his favorite pet, which had astonishingly grown to a gigantic size. Ravel ordered it to breathe fire. The boy couldn't believe his little dragon had become a real monster and was under Anna's control. It was unclear whether this would help Ravel activate the invincible technique. Anna encouraged him to believe in himself. Even faced with the giant manticore, he refused to give up. Ravel already felt his friend's strength and focused all his magic. Poison spread through his body, but he kept it in check, waiting for the right moment to activate the unshakable blade. His friend's arrival bought him a little time. Now Ravel charges, swinging a sword glowing blue. The first strike missed, and the manticore tried to counterattack with its tail, but Ravel shifted position just in time. Ravel delivered a decisive strike. The unbreakable blade easily cut through the giant clover monster's neck. His friends were impressed, and Ravel felt a surge of strength, certain he deserved the title of the most hard-working person in the world. After defeating the monster and learning the unbreakable blade skill, the boy was ready for new missions and eager for new achievements. With the manticore defeated, Ravel teleported back, not even saying a word to his beloved. That moment was both the most thrilling and the saddest. The fight ended, Borzo helped Ravel recover, and Ravel took a few days off. Using magic, he neutralized the poison and cleansed the body, but his left arm remained paralyzed and needed time to heal. Anna rose to fame after fighting the manticore, and by saving her friends, she became a heroine at the Academy of Heroes. Soon, Alina, a charming new guild administrator, came to Ravel and offered to work together, bringing a letter. To his surprise, the message was from the United Federation of Guilds, a powerful organization. After accepting the invitation, he arrived at the main castle, where they honored him as a valued guest and invited him to an audience. As he approached the hall, giant ice statues, including knights and monsters, attacked Raveler, and it was not what he had expected. Ready for battle, he did not know why they attacked. Thanks to Ravel's fire magic, he destroyed the statues and turned them into ordinary water. Levis, the leader of the Federation, appeared and praised the boy for his incredible strength. The Academy clearly missed its chance to have such a hero. Later, he invited Ravel to lunch, and the juicy wild boar was the most delicious thing Ravel had ever tasted. Levis explained that the meat is aged for 20 days in a warm place, so molds develop, and those molds give it tenderness and aroma. It sounded strange, but careful preparation eliminates the risks. Some gourmets enjoy that exact taste. Ravel finally asked why he was really invited. He was told they wanted to give him access to the county of Alida. The cause was that he had defeated the sage, the great swordsman, and the manticore. Tests showed the poison in his body came from that same manticore. Levis had no idea how Ravel ended up there or why Anna hid the details. The elite academy only values results. Ravel was happy because he had always dreamed of joining this academy, but there was one condition. He had to become an S-rank adventurer within a year to receive the official invitation. He felt upset because only moments earlier Levis had called him the most deserving candidate. Cunning Levi said this would prove to everyone that he was worthy. A true hero is made stronger by difficult missions. Reaching an S rank sometimes takes years, depending on the level of tasks you complete. Ravel realized the next year would be brutal. He thanked them for the treat and returned to the guild. Levis was satisfied. In Ravel, he saw a reflection of his youth, and the young man plunged into difficult missions and non-stop training. Over time, he realized he lacked new skills. The most useful was the ability to create a spatial inventory. Learning this skill was hard, but Ravel managed. Now, he could store things without limits in time or space. Lara was thrilled and a little jealous knowing that with that skill, her trading would soar, and she asked to be taught. Ravel said achieving that effect is difficult, but persistence always yields results. Ravel became intrigued and wanted to try the process again. Together with the sage cult, they trained even in their sleep, and 1 hour of that sleep counted as 8 hours of rest. Consistent runs and training paid off. Ravel became so fast the naked eye could not keep up. Yura taught him this method. Administrator Leon, or Amina, always picked the most dangerous quests for him, and Ravel finished them instantly and returned for new ones. In the end, Alina said she could no longer give him tasks, not even simple ones, because the guild was becoming empty. Ravel insisted on new missions, and it led to a dispute because he was ready for a promotion but had to wait another month. Still determined, he begged for new challenges to reach the highest rank as quickly as possible. Alina promised him a trial quest before the promotion. Lara proposed a special month-long mission because she predicted Ravel would seek a promotion. The task was to get the Minotaur's horns on the 20th floor of the Frappar Aras dungeon. It took enormous effort. Ravel was thrilled, thanked them for the opportunity, and promised to earn a promotion. After hugging Laura, he felt happy, but she asked him to read the mission terms carefully. It turned out that a rank B adventurer must first recruit 2 more members. Ira joined first because she had always wanted to be near Ravel. Ravel thanked her for her determination and found her strength very useful. Ira believed they could manage, even though she had only reached the 5th level of the dungeon, and she trained at every opportunity. Ravel motivated her, and they trained together until they were exhausted, but they were happy because they were getting stronger. Ira trained only once a week, but she never told her father, and he understood everything though he kept quiet. The third member of the team was the Sage Cult. Ravel was surprised that Cult agreed right away because he wanted to test a new magical technique. The Cult said it wanted to explore the potential of new abilities, and Ravel agreed eagerly. The Sage proposed conducting research after the mission, and Ravel accepted the terms. The boy also wanted to set out with his friends. He was grateful to his little dragon Q, but unsure about its transformation. Ravel assumed Q would stay out of it, but Q teleported in and helped fight the manticore. How he became a giant dragon remained a mystery. The cult advised not to ignore the pet, because many dragon researchers have never seen a creature like Q. Rumors say the Mechanical Guild tried to capture Q, but he escaped and hides many secrets. Finally, Ravel decided to bring his favorite pet on the mission. Q was as happy as a child and promised to be the most helpful in the world. The next day, the combined party set out for the Frappar dungeon, and the guild saw them off with its best wishes. At the maze's main gate, they had to register first. Ira offered to go with them because she had been here before. Suddenly, Agito and Lizzie appeared, longtime acquaintances, and everyone was surprised. Agito remained angry with Ravel over the tournament loss, but both were now competing for a promotion, and Agito had been given that task too. Slightly disappointed, Ravel found out he wasn't the only contender, but he was ready to compete. Meanwhile, Lizzie explained the dungeon layout. She pointed out that the lower the level, the stronger the monsters, but bosses can appear on the upper floors as well. The Minotaur is on the 4th floor. After the Minotaur appeared, the Federation took control of its territory, and most guilds avoid those missions because they are too dangerous for B-rank adventurers. Ravel realized he had received a special permit. Lena admitted the official application would have taken a month, so she used her trick again. A line formed at the maze entrance, causing disputes. Lizzie and Agito joined it immediately. Ravel reminded them of his special permit that let him pass without registering, but Agito refused to yield. Despite the cult's advice to stay calm and register, Ravella was upset that the safe zone was already taken, and he finally reached the checkpoint. The participants began talking, each sharing their goal. Ravel smiled and announced his team was ready to enter. Many adventurers were either heading in or coming back. It was a loud, non-stop stream. The cult insisted that caution came first. Ravella was surprised by how many people wanted to go through the labyrinth. Ira explained that the first 10 floors had no traps, so they could move quickly. To get ahead of their rivals, the team used magic to boost their running speed and charged ahead. Soon they reached the 11th floor. Everyone readied themselves because powerful monsters were about to appear. Suddenly, a magical attack shattered the calm, and a huge stone fell nearby, miraculously missing everyone. Sage Cult stepped in and unleashed an incredibly powerful fire spell, hoping to win. The stone opponent absorbed the magic and reflected it back, leaving everyone stunned by its power. Ultimately, the spell's power destroyed the enemy. Ravel and the others resolved to be more careful from then on. Further advance required eliminating every enemy, and the team's coordination made it possible to get through the most dangerous situations. Meanwhile, Agito and Lizzie pushed forward, and Lizzie tried to help, but that only annoyed Agito. Lizzie urged him to master new techniques and weapons to react faster, but Agito stubbornly wanted only to surpass Ravel. They entered a silent zone where even a heartbeat could be heard, perhaps a prelude to a special area. While Agito and Lizzie stayed quiet, Ravel's team was already on the 18th floor. Everything was going well, but Cult started to worry. Suddenly she made a fatal mistake, stepping on a trap. Death could come at any moment. The sage managed to save her using alchemy. He admitted he had been carefully studying new possibilities since meeting Ravel. He said modern magic is easier to master than ancient magic, so Ravel is a unique keeper of knowledge. Such uniqueness can intimidate others. People fear the unknown, and Ravel is not like other talisman owners. Gifted people are the backbone of the nation. Institutions like the Academy of Heroes shape them, but discrimination persists, and the weak are considered worthless. The cult long thought that even those who grant talents might not fully understand their nature. By then, the team had reached the 19th floor, where the difficulty rose sharply. Both teams met here. Agito warned of a horde of enraged monsters, so everyone had to stay focused. No one understood why so many monsters had appeared. Nothing like this had happened before. Lizzie urged everyone to focus on the fight. This phenomenon was called Monster House, a mass appearance of enemies before a special zone in the maze. Ravel decided that if they could break through, they would reach the 20th floor, where the Minotaur would be waiting for them. Ravel wanted to get ahead of Agito because a deadly trap could form between them and the Minotaur. He had a plan, but the sage advised not to share it in Rome. Ravel suddenly decided to hold off every monster across the whole level by himself, leaving his friends to fight the Minotaur. He promised not to let the monsters break into the special zone. While 3 warriors fought the boss, his job was to buy some time. Despite the cult's objections, the mission was in danger, and the Federation left almost no time. Ravel was confident he would find another way to raise his rank. Lizzie decided to stay with him and help, since it's easier together, and the other 3 should be enough to defeat the boss. Agito was not pleased. Ravel now seemed to have done him a favor, but he agreed to follow the plan and destroy the monster as soon as possible. The others had to hurry before Ravel and Lizzie were worn out fighting an endless horde of monsters. If they survive, they will become legends. Ira and Agito quietly reached the 20th floor, quickly found the Minotaur, and attacked while their friends defended the rear. Suddenly they saw the wounded Federation manager. He warned them to run at once. The Minotaur was much stronger than it seemed. The bloodied commander shouted that even A-rank warriors could not hold their ground. The monster exceeded all expectations. Ravel and Lizzie kept thinning out the monsters, but the wave of enemies did not let up and felt endless. All the adventurers found themselves in a deadly trap, unsure how to escape. While the heroes fought in the labyrinth, merry aristocrats drank wine with the high priest, who preferred plain water. They had known each other since childhood and spoke informally. In that world, titles did not matter. Talents mattered, divine gifts that shaped each person's fate. The battle in the labyrinth raged for hours, and no one knew when it would end. The cult tried to break the Minotaur, but failed. He struck it with a powerful wind spell, but it only slightly stunned the monster. The Minotaur had its own magic, absorbing others' energy and healing itself. If they cannot find a way out, everyone will die. Meanwhile, Lizzie and Ravel fought without rest, but the monsters kept coming. Ravel was more effective, and once again showed the power of his unbreakable sword. Lizzie, impressed, asked how he had reached that level. The answer was simple: persistence. He noticed his little dragon acting strangely when Q began to panic as something dark pierced its body. The child stepped aside, told everyone not to come closer, and instantly transformed into total darkness. A powerful evil magic gripped him, one Ravel had never seen before. The teams kept fighting the Minotaur bravely, but none of their attacks did any damage. Ira was only trying to buy time. Cult and Agito watched in awe as Yura moved lightning fast and defended herself with a magic shield, the result of training with Ravel. No one knew how to stop the monster. The cult decided to remove its ability to regenerate. That required a sacrifice. The sage gave Agito a fiery aura, explaining that only a cunning flame could pierce the monster's defenses. The cult himself was surprised by his actions. Once thinking himself selfish, he had just created a unique spell and given his power to someone else. Now Agito had to strike. Meanwhile, Ravel and Lizzie were trying to figure out what had happened to Q, who had turned into a huge monster and was destroying everything around him. This had become too dangerous. Lizzie decided to seize the moment and destroy the dragon before it was too late. Ravel defended his pet, despite Lizzie seeing the once cute dragon as a dangerous monster. For Ravel, Ku was more than a beast, a friend and part of the family. His words reached the dragon, and something in him changed. The giant body trembled in agony, but within minutes, Q managed to overcome the rage and became small and calm again. This time, Ravel himself was filled with rage, and anyone who tried to come near his friend risked being destroyed. With fire in his heart, Ravel cut his way through hordes of monsters, and his rage only made him stronger. Meanwhile, Agito, strengthened by the sage's fire magic, charged into battle, keeping up with his opponent. Despite his nature, he remained a fearless adventurer and charged at the Minotaur. Ira fired non-stop with her pistols, guiding magical bullets to hit the target precisely even from long range. Ravel reached a new level, becoming a true berserker who destroyed everything around him. Ira, Cult, and Agito felt relieved because their plan had worked and the Minotaur's threat was gone. One level down in the maze, silence fell. Lizzie watched Ravel, who had just destroyed all the monsters but looked bewildered. What happened hit the boy hard, and he couldn't hold back tears as he looked at his dragon friend. Meanwhile, the high priest spoke with an old friend, saying some people believe talents weaken a person's spirit. People with strong talents began to lose their physical fitness because monsters on the main routes had dwindled and the threat was gone. Beyond civilization, rumors circulated about new terrifying creatures that could attack at any moment, so relaxing was not an option. Verkhovna did not want to continue the conversation. She believed in facts and knew some things could not be changed. At that moment, the door to the room opened slowly, and a dark, unfamiliar hand appeared. A mysterious figure returned to the divine sanctuary. Nothing had changed, and the goddess welcomed him warmly, so the guest no longer seemed lost. The guest called determination the source of his successes, laughed loudly, and unsettled the gods. At the same time, many adventurers suddenly lost their ability to use magic. Lara suddenly burst into the room screaming and ran to the bed where Q was sleeping. The cult dismissed it as nonsense, even by Lara's standards, but she snapped back. A few days had passed since the mission, and the dragon was still unconscious. The experienced vet found nothing critical, but Q's condition was still concerning. Boson blamed the monsters from the maze. That day, they finally escaped the dungeon. Everyone was ready to attack, but their appearance was completely unexpected. Lara was helping people then, and the losses stayed small because an Ashid-rank adventurer happened to be nearby and stepped in. Ravel thought Q might have caught a curse or an illness, but Q insisted on going on the mission and refused to stay in the cave. The friends were still trying to figure out what to do about Q when Administrator Alina entered the room. She looked tense. When Ravel asked, she said an urgent assignment had come up with no limit on the number of participants. Near the Kingdom of Theory, the city of Rero is under siege by monsters, and they must be destroyed to free the region. Ira and Lara quickly volunteered for the dangerous mission, even though they understood the scope of the threat. Agito and Lizzie did not stay on the sidelines, and Agito wanted to dive back into the action to find out who organized the attack on the city. Lizzie asked Agito if he was ready to take part in dangerous missions again. He nodded confidently, dreaming of getting the Minotaur's horns and raising his level. Deep down, he still held a grudge against Ravel and wanted to prove he could handle any task without help from others. He got Lizzie to lighten up, saying there are no more rank-up missions. The labyrinth entrance is closed, and everyone will turn to a new task. Ravel will certainly be among the applicants, since he wants to join the elite academy to be near the girl he loves. Meanwhile, Anna continued her studies at the academy, working hard to become the best and strongest among the students. Teachers thought she was very gifted. She had already defended her friends and defeated Montecara. Ahead was the decisive battle in the city where a dragon might appear. Captain Isek approached her, cheerful as always, and asked to be called by his first name, without any titles. He asked if Anna was now a real veteran, since this was her first time leaving the academy for a mission. Anna admitted she was a little scared. Despite her nerves, she was confident because she felt the support of someone important to her and had no intention of backing down. Isek was happy about her mood because he knew a girl in love could do anything. But a moment later, he was called to an urgent meeting he had completely forgotten. Meanwhile, Colton and Ravel discussed the strange terms of the new mission, since after it finished, they had to meet with some friend, which surprised them. The cult called this noisy aristocrat an eccentric, but admitted there was something appealing about him that attracted attention. Sometimes Colt dreamed of being like him, but he knew his path was different. Ravel noticed those sad thoughts, but did not mention them. The sage said all this talk was nonsense, and that it was more important now to destroy the monsters and not forget the safety of their hometown. Rero was a fairly large border town, but it faced a massive invasion for the first time as the war reached it. Agito and Ira were stunned by the number of monsters, even more than on the 19th floor of the labyrinth. Ira was afraid, but did not retreat. Determined, she stood her ground until the end because all her friends were risking their lives, and it wasn't the time to dwell on fears or old stories. Everyone admired little Ira's courage, but it was nothing new to her because she had proved her strength in battle many times. The Guild Federation leader Levis arrived in the city, causing a stir because no one here had seen him before. Once a resort town where the royal family planned their honeymoon, it became an important base during the wars. The city, now ruined by a monster onslaught, needed urgent help, and Levis called for immediate battle, promising a generous reward. He promised to show all his combat skill, equal to any elite warrior, and this day would be a day of courage. His words inspired not only adventurers, but also the city's residents, who stood ready to fight for glory, peace, and the future. Enraged manticores were the first obstacle on the road. One brave fighter rushed forward to hold them off alone, because he wanted to be a hero. Ravel acknowledged the boy's courage but urged caution, saying, "Such bravery can cost a life." He moved in at once to help. His signature blade strike left the monsters no chance and stunned everyone watching. Anna learned that someone had destroyed an entire pack of manticores, and from the description, she realized it was Ravel, her dearest friend. Unable to contain her emotions, the girl rushed to Captain Yona to find out where he was, since she had to find him. Anna climbed onto the dragon and immediately rode into battle, and the captain only smiled and praised her for her decisiveness. Inspired by Anna, the other academy students joined the fight. Captain Isek could not hide his joy, as he loved a spectacular opening. Ravel fought monsters fearlessly alongside other adventurers, leaving none unchallenged as the elite academy's best students charged every enemy. At last, the dream their hearts had long held came true, and Ravel and Anna, protecting each other, felt strong even facing death. Nearby, in the shadows, a dark figure watched everything and decided it was time to start a magical war. After a defeat 1,000 years ago, this time he intended to win. This ominous enemy was determined to take revenge for the years of humiliation and neglect the world had inflicted on him. Strangely, the Dark Lord already knew Ravel well and was planning how to destroy the bearer of the diligence talent. The battle reached its climax. Ravel, beside Anna, fought with fierce determination. Ira and Colt did everything to contain the threat. Everyone froze when an S-rank Hydra appeared, a giant monster whose mere appearance inspired terror. Ira warned Agito to be careful. Hydra's attacks caused terrible losses, with even the bravest falling to its assault, unable to withstand its magical fury. At that moment, the cult charged into the fight, unleashing powerful fire magic that incinerated the monsters and weakened their protective barriers. Calmly and confidently, he urged ending the battle quickly and caring for the wounded comrades. A headless figure emerged from the fog and moved toward Colt, reminding him of that cheerful aristocrat. Colt was furious, and he refused to give up now that their mission was to clear the city, even with death looming. Flying monsters joined the ground creatures, and Ravel realized he could not reach the enemy in the air. Anna proved herself at that moment. Riding a trained dragon, she instantly struck a target in the sky. Ravel watched with pride. At the same time, he felt a strange magical surge and realized someone on the ground was controlling the onslaught. Ravel used support magic, sped up, and set out to find the source of the invasion to change the course of the battle. Standing on the roof of a tall building, he saw a figure radiating dark energy. It was the organizer of the attack. The enemy refused to surrender. He declared the current invasion was only a reminder of the ancient monster war. His pets were now causing chaos, and no one could stop them. Ravel did not listen and immediately charged into the attack. His blade stopped against an invisible barrier. He struck with all his strength, but heard only the crack of the blow. Ravel was hurled dozens of meters by the powerful recoil. The black energy only intensified. The young man refused to give up. Unarmed, he threw a shard of the blade straight at the enemy to change the course of events. With a single wave of his hand, the Dark Lord stopped him and took Ravel under his control. He said the boy has a remarkable talent and must now learn the truth about the great monster war. Without waiting for an answer, Ravel felt knowledge of that war flow into him. The gods had given people talents to fight the monsters. The sinister mastermind behind the attack watched the scene with pleasure, trying to gauge Ravel's true power. Later, he chose to tell an old story, even though the place to talk was far from safe. People must understand one thing: the end of the world is near. It's time to forget dreams and accept the inevitable. The dark monster cast a strengthening spell and gave its power to all the monsters, directing their movements. His magic instantly strengthened the monster army, making the attack even more terrifying than before. Dark magic swept over all the adventurers, cutting off their access to talents and leaving them on the brink of total destruction. Anti-magic grew stronger as the monsters seized the initiative. The Dark Lord finally unleashed the power he had built up over thousands of years. He told Ravel with a cruel smile that talents were a curse, and Anna at that moment lost control of her dragon, which began thrashing in the air. She tried to hold back the chaos, but her strength failed, and Anna was thrown from the saddle, falling quickly from dozens of meters. At the last moment, Q appeared and saved the girl from a fatal fall. Anna gratefully hugged her rescuer. She asked how he had come to his senses, but Q just shook his head, said it was not the time to talk, and charged. There wasn't time. Another giant flying monster attacked them, larger and more aggressive than the previous ones. This time, Anna acted lightning fast, flew in close, landed a critical strike with her sword, and returned to Q's back. The dragon praised her agility and suggested they quickly search for Ravel together. Q's memory changed, and he recalled many new details. Now, he had to get an important item to the owner quickly before the city was completely destroyed. Panic spread among the adventurers. Without talents, they were defenseless against the monsters. The cult quickly realized that ancient magic still works, so the dark enemy's influence affects only modern talents. Remaining alert, he planned to give the enemy a strong response even in those conditions. Meanwhile, Agito and Ira hid from another monster, and Ira admitted that without the talent, her pistols were powerless. Agito seethed with anger and helplessness, unsure how to escape the trap. Meanwhile, Q flew over the city, looking for its master. Finally, he saw Ravel bound by a black curse as the dragon dove and unleashed a powerful blast of fire. Anna wasted no time and charged at the Dark Lord with her sword, but her strike did no damage. Everyone understood that defeating him would not be easy. The Dark Leader mocked Ravel, forcing him to see his weakness. Q refused to stay silent, then swallowed the Dark Lord and freed the Master from the wizard's bonds. He said that perseverance always pays off, and even when things seem hopeless, you must not give up. A mission still remains: to return one precious thing. The dragon intends to give Ravel memories from the past to help him see the path forward. Suddenly, the Dark Lord reappeared and announced he had waited years for this moment, and no one would stop his plan. His pride angered Ravel. The youth, not holding back his rage, struck hard at the spot where the enemy's head should have been. The strike hit so hard, the monster was thrown aside and slammed into the wall. It was the awakening of an ancient magic immune to destruction. Ravel kept attacking while the dark beast, confused, tried to figure out what was happening. Once, in peacetime, his friend told him to act responsibly, because every decision has consequences. The world had lost its balance, and their main task was already complete. They needed to think about a new goal. They now had to observe the worlds and find those best suited for life. This world was far from ideal. The strong ruled the weak, and there were many like it. Yet one among them stood out: the human. Though humans resembled godlike observers, their lives were short but full of potential. It seemed this strange species, humans, would disappear in just a few hundred years. Watching them felt pointless. All divine beings knew destroying the world was easy. They only had to breach the core, deep in the center, where the source of life lay. That was where souls went after death. There, memories were processed to prepare for reincarnation. Even the gods had no right to interfere in this process. Observers were allowed to create new species, beings that could adapt to any environment, and they gradually became monsters. After finishing the mission, Ravel's partner said they should go back since everything here was done. The world was left to monsters, and 1,000 years passed. When the observers returned to the human world, they discovered that humans had not only survived, but built a real civilization. All the calculations were wrong. Humanity did not disappear. It flourished, and that was astonishing. Monsters that grew stronger with each reincarnation were now being used by humans as a resource for survival. Humanity mastered magic, a power meant to lead souls to the core, but now that same magic has become their salvation. Observers were puzzled. People were not supposed to possess such knowledge. Worldly wisdom was the prerogative of divine beings alone. After studying the situation, they found that this world's wisdom had risen remarkably, though there was no time to reflect. Wisdom is the power of observers holding knowledge of ecosystems. But now, humanity has surpassed them all, including magic, architecture, and medicine. The observers no longer knew how to deal with the anomaly. Evolution could not be stopped. Ravel decided to investigate it alone. The rule was simple: do not interfere. But curiosity led him to the city as an ordinary person. Despite the monsters, the world looked developed and orderly. Ravel admired people's ability to progress. The biggest surprise was the girl playing with the monster. That went against everything they knew, because monsters were only supposed to kill. Ravel learned the human language and asked how she could befriend such a creature, but the girl only apologized and asked him not to hurt her pet. She explained the monster can be annoying and even harmful, but it's just a game. They eat, talk, and spend time together. The girl hugged her friend and promised to do everything to make him a full member of her family. Ravel was struck by the child's words. Meeting the carefree girl became a turning point in his life. He remembered how she once treated him to a jam bun and eagerly explained the right way to eat it. Happy beside him, the girl made up new stories every day and shared them with the dragon and the odd guest. The one in this world created everything and devised a way to continuously create new worlds, producing hundreds of trillions of variations. Over time, these worlds began to fall apart, and even the immortal deity felt empty because its actions no longer made sense. The goddess wanted at least one world to stay stable, but watching every world was impossible, so she created the Watchers. Their mission was to find habitable worlds. If they were wrong, there was no hope of forgiveness, and everything was recorded for the gods' report. At last, the goddess learned of a remarkable world that kept growing thanks to hard-working people. It deserved a great purpose. Even now, the Watchers did not understand how this had become possible. They had once filled this world with magical creatures. They made a mistake right from the start. If that's the case, their reason for existing is at risk. This time, their verdict may have been wrong. Even magical creatures have become part of the life cycle. If there are no signs of destruction, the goddess can welcome the rebirth. Even that did not fix the main problem. Ravel and his partner reached the wrong verdict, and now it's unclear if they can remain observers of this world. His partner only coldly reminded him that an observer cannot make mistakes. There must be no evidence. Then he disappeared, leaving Ravel at a crossroads. A monster of unprecedented fury soon attacked the world. No hunter could stop it, and squads fell one after another. A young man named Ravel suddenly appeared and defeated the monster by himself with a strike that cut the silence like lightning. With this victory, he broke the main rule, the ban on observers interfering, and as a result, he became part of this world. No longer a divine being, he still had magic, but his immortality was gone. The new body carried age, pain, and death. When that girl thanked him sincerely, from the bottom of her heart, he knew it had been worth it. Her father's gaze filled with gratitude as well. Ravel realized he no longer had to run from fate. His new calling is to protect this world, and soon a new chapter began, the Magic War. Anna returned with the news. She had felt a strong burst of magic. Not fond of fighting, she was the only one who could scout from the air. Her loyal dragon Ku flew happily at her side. Their bond was strong, as if fate had bound them through several lives. Suddenly, Ravel gently touched her head, and she felt something incredible. He called it a burst of memory. He hoped that in her next life she would ride a dragon too, because she would gain the talent of a dragon rider. Anna lit up, her face shining with happiness, while Ravel listened to her laugh and remembered how it used to be. The observers only watched. He was always looking for the meaning of life. So he asked the girl what she lived for. She just shrugged and said, "I never thought about it. I just live." This simple answer made Ravel laugh, and he proposed ending this terrible war. He knew who was behind how it began, and any attempt to stop it would be dangerous. He still reached his goal. The opponent, though defeated, only smiled through the pain and said, "You won't change anything." Ravel tried to find out what happened to the goddess's magic. There should have been enough of it to make monsters, but their partner might have had a different plan. People grow through mistakes. They need to lose to become stronger. He said that in 1,000 years they will beg for divine help again. Ravel will die, and the war will start again. Ravel clenched his fists in fury. That did not change anything. The observers had already been wrong once. My partner just laughed and said, "You have no talents. You are made only to watch. I am the one who will judge." Gathering all his strength, he delivered a magical blow to the girl. She was unable to defend herself. Terror gripped Ravel as he ran to her, but the life in the young body was fading fast. Cursing his indecision, he still believed there had to be a way out in this critical moment. Fading, the girl reminded him of everything she had said over the years and of what she had not yet said. Her voice trembled, and with her final words, she called him the most handsome man in the world, then felt a little lighter and closed her eyes. Ravel, broken by pain, vowed to defend this world until his last breath. And even if he had to live again, she must be by his side. Ravel didn't know what would happen after death. The world might simply vanish. He decided that if it did, Q must do something important. After the Great Magical War, people were given a gift from above called talents. At age 12, everyone received a unique ability. Years passed, the war faded from memory, and the world settled into peace. Children were happy, but one child did not laugh. The boy avoided games and wasn't interested in friends, only in learning. The other children tried to make him talk, especially one girl. She had just arrived in town, friendly and smiling. Ravel, still a child, warned her not to come near, saying, "I'm a monster." She only smiled. "Now we're friends." Ravel met Anna again, and in the current world, they stood side by side in the heart of battle against an enemy who knew that Ravel had given everything, his power, memories, and knowledge, to the dragon. Many years passed. Q became the guardian of Ravel's power. People honed their talents and built temples, cities, and empires. They could not have survived without their talents. More than a century would pass. Society became unfair, and the weak were scorned. Centuries later, a group of exiles from the royal capital discovered an ancient laboratory. It was there that everything was set to begin again. Kyu survived, but could not remember the main thing. In a moment of danger, his memories came back, and he had to return what he had kept for centuries. The world stood once again on the brink as the dark monster declared the end. Talents faded. People were left powerless. But Ravel did not. Only one person could restore the power. Even without abilities, he believed magical monsters were not immortal. Ravel attacked. The power of his strike was his answer. He would show the monster was wrong. The enemy's main mistake was not understanding people. He saw them as weak. Meanwhile, Levis thought about the ruins of his academy. Captain Isaac refused to give up, unlike Levis, and continued fighting alongside his allies. Levis admitted he never thought the day would come when the Dragon Knights would fall. Now even the royal soldiers had no spirit to fight. Isaac grabbed his arm and said, "Say that again, and you will betray everything you were. A leader has no right to despair." He reminded Levis of past exploits, victories over monsters, and the labyrinths he had passed through. Warriors deserve respect. They protect humanity. Levis asked in surprise if that was a compliment after years of knowing each other. Those words restored his faith. Levis inspired his team again. Even without talent, as long as you are standing, you must keep fighting. Meanwhile, a hydra was ravaging the city. The adventurers had driven it into a trap. The decisive moment had come. Powerful explosions destroyed the buildings and damaged the monster. Then, Egido moved in to attack. After taking command of the squad, he ordered the hydra destroyed, because there might be no second chance. Everyone knew the situation was critical. They fought with the last of their strength, hoping to be rescued. The hydra tore the magic membrane free, broke out of the trap, and began destroying everything around. Most fled, but Egido stayed to save Era, and he later realized that maybe that cost him the tournament. The headless monster kept breaking through the defenses, while people fought desperately to clear another street. Knights fought with swords, while adventurers used fragments of magic. They sought to change the course. After that battle, the cult of sages uncovered the secrets of ancient magic and passed them on to others. It sensed each person's state without words. Fire magic he once used to destroy dungeon traps was the peak of his power, yet he kept searching for new possibilities. Alone in its journey into deep, mysterious magic, the cult never planned to share power with others, but wanted to master the ultimate magic itself. Thanks to the magical doll talent, he could use any spell as an energy source, so he decided to give power to everyone fighting beside him. Each adventurer gained a new power: fire, icy wind, and storm, so they could join forces to destroy the evil threatening the world. The cult aimed straight at its mark, wanting to be remembered as humanity's savior. The headless enemy refused to give up, struck with his hands, and destroyed the stone bridge to the other part of the city. Tons of rocks rained from the sky, forcing the squad to fall back. The cult waited for the right moment to strike. La appeared unexpectedly, the trader from before. She was tending to the wounded, and the cult did not understand why she was there. La checked how badly he was wounded and whether he still had any magic left, but the cult rudely told her to leave. Unfazed, the girl pulled out a pure elixir and ordered them to drink it. Its power faded once it left the inventory. The cult was shocked that a woman who hated magic learned to use the magic vault. Admitting it was hard, she said Ravel pushed her to learn. Even as her strength faded, she was glad to see the cult recover. Meanwhile, the Dark Lord of Monsters realized his plans to destroy the people had failed. The monsters were pushed back. Ravel urged the enemy to recognize that people are not so weak. Even after losing a war, they keep learning. People can see their mistakes and become stronger. That was the real evolution of consciousness. Ravel set out to prove that every person is unique, and their determination is their greatest strength. Together, people can achieve anything, even the hardest tasks. That is why those who only know how to destroy are hated. With every beat, Ravel expressed his love for humanity. The Dark said he had no chance of winning and possessed only a sliver of the observer's power. Ravel was no longer an observer. His immortal body vanished. Its return will strip him of the ability to fight. Then, the world will live again by the rules of talent, and people will see how vulnerable they are. Ravel refused. An observer who intervenes in life becomes part of it. He trusted Q's power and became human. His power awoke in the cult's body. The cult slowly remembered everything it could do. He never used this power for himself. Even if he must stray from the path, he will not destroy the world because he is now part of it. Those words made the old comrades stop and think. Their fate was to fight to the end, but something had changed. While the adventurers and knights fought under the cult's command, Ravel suddenly felt familiar emotions. A goddess appeared before him again, smiling as the young man remembered everything that mattered in his past life. Ravel realized his talent did not come from the cult. It was a gift from the goddess. She confirmed it and then told him the truth that she had arranged for La to find him in time and had given Q the observer's power. She also ordered the cult to assist Ravel, and then they will be able to meet again, though in a different form. When Anna was in mortal danger, the transformation itself was supposed to save her or Ravel. Ku had to restore the power. Then the goddess said that Ravel had defeated the manticore without anyone's help, a feat not everyone could manage. Ravel asked for an answer to one final question. What allowed Ravel, the observer who broke the core rules and became trapped in a cycle of lives, to master the most powerful magic? It was time to leave his past self behind, so he had to move forward without looking back. The goddess reminded them that an observer must be perfect, but one unique observer was born among them and changed everything. The observer mixed humor, drama, and hope, so others saw him as inferior, and one even wanted to erase him. Yet everyone had to understand that the world they observed came into being because of that imperfection and became one of a kind. Eventually, the human world defied divine expectations and became an interesting place for observation, learning, and fun. Now Ravel's power had fully returned, and he had to decide whether to stay here or return to being an observer. Old Ravel said this world no longer needs his power, and the new one has found true friends. But he will have to give up all his power for that. The reborn Ravel had no doubt. Even without the power to observe, he would become strong through persistence. He had already gained the key knowledge from old Ravel's memory and thanked him sincerely. The dragon magic fragment let Q carry these memories through time and force. The goddess laughed because this fragment could let the demon return again with one goal: to destroy humanity. Ravel thanked them for the memories and strength and reminded them that the central core was the most dangerous place, reached only by the chosen. Despite the difficulty, he was ready to finish the mission. People are hard-working. The second Ravel returned to being an observer. The goddess gave them a new pair and restored the soul of the one who died near the core. This imperfect observer got a chance at a new life. 2 years later, La learned she could shorten the army's supply route, but a letter from the sage surprised her. Everyone watched with excitement as she unfolded the letter and read the message about the hero from the academy. La remained a merchant and did not want to change course, because even in that role, she could influence the heroes, and now she had to negotiate with the kings. Agito and the others were struck by the Academy of Elite Heroes' grandeur and design. Even without powers, the place still felt magical. Even after losing their abilities, people still dreamed of getting in there. Agito urged them not to doubt themselves. After all, this place trained even the untalented if they wanted more. Most importantly, work as a team. Together you can do more than any hero of the past. When Agito asked who the previous hero had been, he learned his name had vanished into oblivion. The cult advised not to look back. Meanwhile, cheerful Anna taught newcomers to ride dragons. Talent isn't everything. What matters is desire and effort. The most important thing is to believe in yourself. Even dragons fear people, so act carefully and honestly to become a true friend to a beast. Captain Isaac, now a teacher, reminded everyone that the Knights of the Red Dragon were destroyed, and only Anna can be the key in the battle with the Empire for control of the sea. In this country, there are always people who want more. Isaac thought about Anna's words and admitted she was right. At that moment, Ravel appeared, smiling and accompanied by his beast, greeting the girl as if nothing had happened. He reminded her of their promises. 3 years ago, they had confessed their feelings and agreed to meet again. Anna remembered every word he said and rushed into his arms. Her heart heard his confession again, that they could reach what mattered most and be together.